Hello, everybody. Welcome into another edition of The Rundown. We are going into Week 8 preview as well as we are talking playoffs. Spranaworth here, JT Scarpelli there, and we have two more guests for us here today. We're calling in the shot callers. It only seems fitting. The QBs are with us. Reed City quarterback Landen Jackson as well as Big Rapids quarterback Cole Haist. Fellas, welcome to the program. Glad to have you on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
It's going to be great.
I was surprised we could get you both in the same room.
Especially standing next to each other. Yeah. So, no, we'll make sure that it's all love here. So, we'll recap Week 7. We'll get into Week 8 previews as well as JT has his spreadsheets out and they're ready to rock and roll from last week, our playoff projections. We'll get into Week 8. There's some changes. Some that have stayed that are very interesting. We'll talk about those. But first, we're back in the building here, JT, of a great sponsor of the show.
Yeah, Michigan ADAS Calibrations in Glass. So anytime you have any kind of windshield crack or chip, they can come either with mobile service or you can bring it right here to get it repaired. But they also specialize in that ADAS calibration. So that's those cameras and sensors around your windshield that it's a lot of safety features that your car has that you might not even realize that they have. When glass gets replaced, those don't always get calibrated again. That's what they specialize in. So whenever you have auto glass repaired or replaced or anything like that, you got to make sure you're at Michigan ADAS Calibrations in Glass because they make sure that your car is functioning just how it should and your family, your friends, everyone in there stays safe.
Absolutely. Big sponsor of the show. You can find them just off 19 Mile Road on Northland Drive. So we'll get right into Week 7 here, all of our recaps, and we'll start with the coin toss. I'm going to flip it. I win. It'll be me and Landen first. So we got the win over Grant 40-6, and the biggest thing, people will look at the score and they'll be like, oh, we got the job done. More points could have been put on the board. We got a lot of the new guys in, but just talk about your guys' perspective, winning on homecoming in a big way.
Yeah, we just we knew we had to start off early and get it going early. First play of the game for us, we got a touchdown right away, and we just felt confident after that.
Absolutely. And for you guys, especially offensively, really, since making the adjustment, right, moving in Jack Deitch in the offseason, now you move McKinney out wide, seems like the offense has extremely opened up. Just talk about that from your perspective as the play caller now with the options that you have on the outside.
Yeah, I feel like everybody can move around. We have a lot of elusive guys that could go anywhere, so
yeah,
we have a lot of options.
Absolutely. And we'll talk about the next game coming up. But for you guys especially, I mean, we got the perspective from Jack. We got this perspective from Tyler. For your perspective, going through this gauntlet of a schedule, I mean, one of the best. I did the math. It's actually the toughest in Division 6 based off of bonus points available. So we can confirm it is the toughest. Just talk about that from your perspective, going up against these tough teams literally every single week.
I think it's a good thing, just putting us to the test every week, keeping us on our toes, getting ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, and I have to ask you too. Reed City fans are knowing exactly where I'm going with this question. You have thrown the ball a lot. The town is not used to that. How is it fun for you, and especially being able to really take the whole, both dimensions of the offense, being able to run the ball and even throwing it too, especially with a lot of those guys that you mentioned that are so talented?
I think it's pretty fun that we've thrown the ball a lot this year. It definitely opens up the run, and then it still gives me more of an opportunity to start throwing.
Absolutely. And especially with a lot of these games so far, obviously with Grant, you had all these guys. I mean, three-headed monster. You have Kianis, right? Kopic has moved in the backfield. He's done really well. Jack Deitch is out, but when he's in, we know how dangerous he can be. But when it comes to especially the way that you guys have played offensively, I know everything's been going right. Defensively on the other side of the ball has been kind of the focal point. How can we limit points? What are you seeing from some of those guys defensively, especially working on scout against them each and every day?
I think it's the passing, and we just need to stay confident and read our keys.
Absolutely. And Week 8 is going to be a tough game. It's Tri-County on the road, playing at a different place is obviously very tough, right? Tri-County a little bit on a down year, but obviously you're not going to overlook them as they're a very good team with a lot of talent. What's especially, not necessarily, you don't have to go into the details and give away the game plan, but what are some of the things that you've seen, especially in Tri-County on film?
They are fast. They will get completions, and that has been our struggles here and there. But if we just don't start off stagnant, then I think we'll have a great opportunity.
All right. So, yeah, that's going to be a really fun game. I'll have that on Y102 with Mark Holcomb. You can catch that on Friday. And there's also another big game going down on Friday over at Cardinal Stadium. Might be game of the week if we see here at the end of the week.
Yeah, we will see. So Cole taking on Coopersville, the Broncos. We've played them. Bear Rapids played them twice in our history. Unfortunately, 0-2 against them in that span. But we got Cole Haist here now, so it's a different thing, right? So Cole, coming into the season, you got some experience last year. When Venix was hurt, so you weren't coming in ice cold, right?
Yeah.
And Coach Seltzer has been the first one to admit this offense is not the easiest thing in the world to learn. Now, what myself and Kostecki have observed is on the run game, you make that right read the vast majority of the time. The pass game, there's really not a whole lot of pressure on you to pass because Bowman's been just killing people the last couple of weeks here. But just talk to me a little bit about that transition into being the full-time starter this year, and maybe some of your development throughout the year, what you've really focused on.
Yeah, so as you said, like getting those 2 games full last year at quarterback helped me, especially at the varsity level, just get a feel. But I've played with these kids all the way up now, like since 3rd and 4th grade we've played together. So we've had good chemistry, and just I think the hiccups throughout the year, like you've said, our run game's been really good. We got a great O-line with Earl and Johnny and Braylon and our 2 tackles and Jason Avon, and just trusting and running behind them with Jack and Garrett. They're 2 of the most dominant running backs in the area. So I think our just biggest hiccups have been the passing game, and last week we got it going a little bit, and hopefully we just keep rolling with it from there on out.
Yeah, and weeks 1 and 2, I noticed you would have some receivers open, and it's like you were just not on the same page. Very natural stuff earlier in the season, right? But as the season's gone on, you've really put the ball in a lot of hands, in a lot of places the defenders can't get it, and so on and so forth. So what's really helped you get more comfortable in the passing game as the season's progressed?
I think it's just trust within our team. We're great. We have the athletes everywhere on the field, just to get the athletes the ball out in space and have faith in them, because once they get the ball, they're going to be hard to bring down. And we've got a couple new concepts in the passing game with those the Ever coaches coming in, Coach Ken and Coach Craven. They're great additions, and just learning that new concepts and all that ideas they got.
Oh, that's great. So last week, back up a little bit, you guys back-to-back outright champs now, right? With the 41-20 win at Newaygo. It looked like you guys were going through a little bit of a gauntlet coming into, you had to go to Tri-County, then you had to go to Newaygo, and now Coopersville. But you guys have proved that those first 2 games were not that difficult. I think Landen proved that the Newaygo kind of swung your guys' way this year, both of you guys scoring at will. Coming into Coopersville now, it's a non-conference team. There's quite a bit on the line with playoff points that we'll get into in a second. But in your preparation for this game, what are you guys looking for against Coopers?
Well, Tri-County and Newaygo, they're both great teams. Newaygo's going to surprise some people in D6. They're a very physical team up front. But Coopersville, it's just a big game. They're huge up front, huge all around. They're very tall, very fast. They're going to score on us. It's just going to be, can we contain them, and can we win the line of scrimmage, because they're huge up front. They got that big Division I right tackle. He's a load.
JJ, right?
Yeah, he's a load up front. But as long as we control our tempo and play our game, we should be fine. We're playing anybody. Yeah,
it's been kind of interesting to watch since the playoffs, and you've done a really good job with that offense this year of keeping that kind of tempo. In the past, it's been like a boom-bust, explosive offense, right? So you can go a couple drives with nothing. But since the playoffs last year and then really all this season, I mean, you've just been able to methodically move. What do you think's really helped you guys sustain drives?
I think it's just, we are still that explosive offense. That's the goal, to score every single play. But we just got a great line up front this year, and last year figured it out, clicking, just the confidence in Coach Seltzer and every call we have that we're going to be able to move the ball. The goal is get 6 to get 6. We either get 6 yards and keep those chains moving, or you're getting 6 and scoring a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
It's a nice little saying. It might be crocheted on a pillow somewhere in a football locker room. We'll take a look at some scores around the CSAA. Obviously, Reed City, Big Rapids both with wins. Kent City gets back to winning ways. They win against White Cloud Central Montcalm. Boy, that's a really good team. Maybe we're kind of glad they moved to the White. I know you guys would both love to play them. I know that'd be really fun. Sure. Tri-County winning against Chip Hills. Now, winning, they were not winning until the very end of the game. How about Chip Hills' performance? Tri-County still gets the win. And Morley Stanwood defeating Comstock, a team that struggled this year. So those are some games. And that kind of leads us into this next week here. Obviously, you see the two top on your screen of Reed City and Big Rapids in those matchups. There's some other fun matchups there around the league as well. Kent City, Morley Stanwood. Now, Kent City's going to have to go to Morley Stanwood. Morley Stanwood, they've played some good last 2 weeks. They have a little
up and down.
They've been up and down, but right now they're going up. So we'll see how that goes. You got Lakeview going to Hemlock. I mean, those are two teams with not the record to prove how well they can play. It's going to be really fun. And
those games, we've talked a lot about how sometimes those
you're going to mention the word, aren't you?
Yeah, they're sometimes the most action, explosive games to watch. Like the final will be 52-50 or something like that. So.
Yeah, especially, I know you're going to bring up the Highland. How about that game at the bottom, Roscommon and Manton? What is it, 85 total points combined? Yes. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
That's what I mean.
That's just crazy chaos. So those are some games this week, and I'll give it over to JT here if you want to highlight the Highland before we get to playoff projections.
Sure. Houghton Lake, who's actually making a bid to get into the playoffs, heads to Everett, who's kind of fighting for their lives right now to get into the playoffs. But Division 8's number 10, Beale City Aggies heading to Manton. The McBain Ramblers 7-0 so far this year, going to Pine River, and then Roscommon heading to Lake City for that. The Highlands is pretty locked up right now with McBain, kind of the same way that Central Montcalm locked up the CSA White, with another conference game to go. But McBain, I mean, the Ramblers just kind of lighting the world on fire so far this year. They got into a slugfest with Beale City, but other than that, there's been nobody to fight with them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a really good season of local high school football, and thank you both formally, for you and your teams, for making our lives very fun. We had to say that up front because it's really fun, and especially week 3 game. I know Lando, we're going to get back at them. I know it's gonna be one that's tough to swallow.
We'll see about it.
Okay, all right. You guys want to stay over there? That's fine. We'll get into playoff projections now, and this is obviously what everybody's waiting for. So we'll start here. We'll go on the other side of the coin toss. We'll start with Big Rapids, and we'll come back to Reed City. We're looking right now at a very, very similar S2Y model as we did a week ago, right? And as we're looking at a lot of these teams that are in it right now. But there's a fun part of it. Big Rapids flipping to the 1 seed this week and hosting Ludington, Whitehall, and Forest Hills Eastern on the other side. And then we have Hudsonville, GR South Christian. That game, if it's played again, probably is going to end the same way. Unity looks like a freight train. You're just going to have to try to put as many obstacles in the way as you can. And then Hamilton against Holland Christian. But I think especially we'll go to you and JT here, Cole. I mean, Whitehall's a team that you guys are eyeing, right? Because this was last year's game. Everybody remembers the memories. You want to play them again. The question is, would you rather want them right out of the gate in round 1, or do you want to wait till the district championship? Let's have a whole true rematch right where it started.
I think the answer to that is we're going to play anybody that's on our card. It's 1 week at a time. Like Coopersville's right now, but once we get to that playoffs, like if Whitehall's the team we got to play week 1, we'll play Whitehall week 1. If they give us somebody else, we'll play them. We don't really care who we play, or we're not eyeing. I mean, there might be some kids on the team eyeing to play Whitehall again, but me as a person, I'm just playing whoever's in front of me.
I know Garrett is.
Yep, Garrett has told us very clearly. Whitehall, yes, please. But yeah, especially, I know, JT, you've mentioned this especially now. A win against Coopersville, I mean, you guys are in the driver's seat. You can win, host, be at Cardinal Stadium the entire district and potentially regional round. Obviously, it's going to take a little bit with Hudsonville being in the region. Obviously, outside looking in, not looking possible. But at least for the district, I mean, that's got to really kind of fuel the fire for you guys. Yeah,
I think that's a goal we've had. Our goal first was win the conference. That we've checked that off. Our next goal is just to make a run in the playoffs, to go ahead and accomplish more than what we did last year. That district title was nice, but we'd really like to keep pushing. So getting to host a couple games, I don't know the last time Big Rapids would have hosted an actual playoff game. That would be pretty cool to do in Cardinal Stadium there.
I want to say it's probably the 03 run.
Right around the 2000s early,
they
right? They
hosted Whitehall at Top Taggart, actually.
Wow. Would you think about that? Yeah. It's crazy how these things all work out. But also looking on the GP model is, JT, you want to throw in the name of it real quick?
Poop.
There you go. So you're looking at, obviously, down the road, what might happen if hypothetical matchups were to fall in favor of spread lines and all these ratings. This is a complete different shakeup. Big Rapids is the 3 seed. You guys are going to Forest Hills Eastern to play that team, who's a really good football team. Portland is pushed up with Ionia in that matchup, and then obviously you got pretty much the same, a little shuffled around. Unity plays Hamilton, and then Whitehall is shifted down from the Lakeshore back over and playing Holland. It's a very interesting matchup if you guys were to face Forest Hills Eastern. I think when you look at it, those are two fast football teams going to be scoring off probably a lot of points in that game.
Yeah, I think that's just a great program. Down in Grand Rapids, they play great football. Once you get to the playoffs, everybody you're going to play is going to be really good. That'd be a tough draw in that district with the undefeated Portland and Ionia and Forest Hills Eastern, but we're going to play whoever's in front of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you know, the models that I see most consistently are, right, you guys beat Coopersville. You have more, even though some of the models claim you would not be the 1 seed, I have you with more playoff points than anything Eastern could do. It doesn't matter how many game points they score, right? Like, I just have you guys, it's razor thin, but I have you guys with more points with a win on Friday. I mean, it would give you 56 even. So last year, you would have hosted Spring Lake with 56 points. I mean, that's a lot of playoff points to go into it. So that would make you the 1, and then you'd have to play Ludington, who just got smacked by Whitehall. So that's a favorable matchup. I think the best thing that could happen, you guys just take care of business this week. Alma's a down team, mop with them, and then you'll be hosting Ludington with Forest Hills Eastern hosting Whitehall. Let them beat each other up, and
then you can play
clean
the winner.
that up.
And especially, so the couple things to watch, right? Forest Hills is starting to, more and more models that we're seeing starting to shift up into your guys' district, and that is because there's lost faith in South Christian, who just got beat up, and they've got 2 tough games ahead of them.
Yeah.
So they might get knocked out, and now we got the situation where Whitehall goes down, and now you got Forest Hills up, and now Portland might get pulled. Those are the kind of scenarios that we're looking at. So it could be a situation where we're just watching South Christian to see what happens, and now that's going to really make the shift happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we were looking at Escanaba, the Eskimos, but
right, and who we talked about last week, and now they're out pretty much.
Kind of 2 easier games, but they got knocked off by Gaylord, so they're out. So
and I wouldn't count South Christian out. If they get in the playoffs, they're a force to be reckoned with. They've been in the state finals the past 2 years.
Yeah.
So
of course,
can't count them out.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something to see them fall? But all right, without that wasted time, we'll go over to Reed City as well. And Lando, I know this is obviously a game that you would love to see again, as that we were treated in week 1. Kingsley's still there. The only difference now is we have Reed City flipped at the 2 spot over Kingsley in this model. Manistee, Mason County still line up on the top at County. But here's the fun thing about it here too. And obviously on the other side you have Standish, you have Calumet, Boyne City, and Negaunee in that bottom spot who would meet in the regional. But the fun part about it is County and based on what we've projected, County and Reed City both win out. You guys would flip on top, so you're hosting your whole way, and that's exactly what you guys want.
Yep.
And so you would love to play at home for 3 more games, and that would be really fun. But we're gonna be watching Manistee, I think, especially because obviously the Mariners right now are in a situation where they got a couple tough games ahead. They're going to play Montague, and then they're playing Mason County week 9. We mentioned that on last week, so those are 2 tough games. They could fall out, and now you're looking at teams maybe even like Pinconning, who we now have actually heard word about the Week 8 game. They have scheduled a Week 8 game, and it's against Beaverton. They beat Beaverton, they're going to get some points, and then they're going to be in Week 9 to a point where they might be able to get a win and get in kind of situation. Now, that's going to really make the lines interesting because Manistee gets knocked out. Now you have those 2 teams. If Calumet somehow loses one of their final games, now there's going to have to be one more team that's pulled up with Negaunee in that district. It's just going to be a whole chaotic mess. But we'll go with you here, Landon, obviously. With these teams, obviously, you've already watched quite a bit of film, knowing you very well. What's the fun thing about these teams, especially if you're looking at that matchups?
Kingsley, I would love to play right off the bat.
You want to play them again?
Yeah, I would love to play Kingsley, and Mason County and Manistee. They would be great opponents. I think Manistee would be a little bit tougher, though.
Okay, why do you say that?
Just how they would match up against our defense.
Okay, so you like the defense better. And that is something to point out. Manistee has given up less points this year as opposed to County. County wants to play in these shootout kind of games, so that obviously benefits there too. Looking at the GP model, obviously that one has the S2Y. This one's a little bit similar to last week. That that dadgum Lions team is still there. They must believe that Newaygo is going to somehow find their way going north, or I should say not going north, but hosting northern teams as opposed to going down. Very interesting. But Reed City playing, you guys would play County first, and then Manistee would be on the other side. Kingsley gets pushed back down, or I should say pushed back up, down on my paper, but up as far as in longitudinal lines. You would be looking now at a matchup potentially of Kingsley and Boyne City, but Standish playing Negaunee in round one. I mean, those two teams might beat each other up. That would be a really fun football game. But as far as this, I think especially in your perspective, Landon, you look at the path last year, sounds very similar talking about some of these teams. And what does that excite most for you looking at these teams?
What excites me the most is maybe seeing Kingsley in semifinals again and getting a revenge, beating them back to back like they did us last year.
Yeah, I think it would be. I think it'll only be fitting that we play Kingsley again.
It'll only be right.
The argument that's really going to be made from the analyst perspective is: are we going to play them game 1 or potentially game 3, right, in the regional final? That would be the question mark. So, but I mean, you look at some of the other teams as well that are going to be really good that we will have to probably be watching out for as far as in Division 6. Right on the other side, you got teams like Almont, Constantine. Those are really good football teams. You got a lot of those teams all are down in Detroit as well. But obviously, the number one that people are probably looking at, Lumen Christi, obviously for obvious reasons. They got a lot of athletes. They got a lot of powerhouse guys. But you can't count Almont out either because they were in the state semifinal last year and lost to the Stags, and they basically brought everybody back. So you never know what they might do.
Yeah, it's a little different landscape for you down there.
Yeah.
It's a little. I think it's a little clearer for Big Rapids up in D4.
Ours is pretty much as clear as coffee at this point. It's just not really looking clear at the moment.
Yeah. It's. I mean, I feel pretty confident you guys are going to be in a similar matchup to last year, right? Going to the Lake Shore.
There's only so many schools our size up here, so
it's
you get that.
Ludington, Big Rapids, Fremont, and then you got to go to Escanaba.
Just draw the line.
Out.
That's at that point, right? Exactly. So one thing to watch too is obviously Standish is going to be playing in Week 8 as well. So that'll be one to watch out for to see how they do because they pulled off a major upset right this last week. They got a huge win, and so they're really solidifying themselves in it. Wayne J2 were just talking like, man, they could be 5-4 and barely squeak in. Now they've basically solidified their spot with a win this last week. So that's going to really shift things up. Can Pinconning get in, or now are we looking at Montague again? A team that we are very familiar with, right? The Wildcats. They follow us everywhere. So they could sneak in, right? Does that bump them up? And does that pull the thumb schools now going up north, right? Like Pinconning and Standish Sterling, which we've seen in some of the models too. So there's a lot of different scenarios. But I mean, for you guys, Landon, I'm sure, Cole, it's the same way that we talked with Coach Seltzer. It's week by week, right?
Yeah.
We're worried about Tri-County this week. The rest of it will take care of itself. But I think I'll leave with this here, this last question for me. What is it for you guys, especially about Friday Night Lights, that you enjoy the most? Landon, we'll start with you. What's your favorite thing about it?
I think just atmosphere, just being with my team and just ready to play football.
All right. Is there a favorite memory that comes to mind, favorite game?
Kingsley week 1.
All right. I figured I'd ask. I knew that one was probably high on the list. So, I mean, I'm sure you guys would love to play them again. What football game that would be, too. Both teams have gotten extremely better since week 1. It'd only make things better. All right, Cole, over to you.
I think it's just the atmosphere, like the whole community coming out to watch, like just playing with your friends and because it's local football. You've been with these kids all the way along just to finally live your like goals that you've had since you were 3rd and 4th grade watching those older kids. You're getting to be those older kids now.
Yeah, that's great. Favorite game in mind?
I don't know. Probably the next one, I would say. But like,
wow.
if we're going in the past, that Reed City game up there, that was a pretty great atmosphere to play.
All right, it was a great atmosphere. We would love the result to change, but it was a great atmosphere. Yeah. It only would be cool if we were in the same division. Let's just hypothetically say we could have a rematch, right? Play twice, and now we're doing it in basketball. Thank goodness. These two schools need to play each other twice, right? As an alum, we need to see these matchups twice a year. I think it's only fitting. So
you agree, Cole?
I don't know. We got it this year, so a win's a win.
Yeah, he's only worried about the rematch, right?
Yeah, I can't wait for basketball.
Okay, that's all he's got to say about that. We can't wait as well. Thank you guys for tuning into the Rundown. Hey, big thanks to these guys right here, Landon and Cole, for joining us. We appreciate you. We know you guys love to have the players on the show, and we can't wait to keep doing it. Big thanks to our friends at Michigan ADAS for making this thing possible, and obviously without their help, we would not have the Rundown, and they do all the great things, calibrations and glass. If you need them, go find them, Northland Drive at 19 Mile Road. So, fellas, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
And we'll see everybody back here next week on this edition of The Rundown presented by Michigan ADAS.